Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Welcome to the George Benson Football Channel. Today we're going to be talking about three main stories: Moises Caicedo, Trevoh Chalobah and Kai Havertz. I need to talk about Havertz because Kai Havertz is wanted by Real Madrid. There's a lot of news circulating at the moment about Karim Benzema. Will he go to Saudi Arabia? Will he be staying at Real Madrid? Benzema came out and said in the last 24 hours or so that it's just the internet talking about him leaving Real Madrid. He's in Madrid, so why would he be leaving? He's got his final game at the weekend. Let's see how this one plays out. But Real Madrid are interested in signing Kai Havertz, whether or not Benzema leaves or not. We're going to start though by discussing Trevoh Chalobah. But before we do that, if you're not yet joined the Telegram chat, the link is at the top of the description. In the month of June, I'm giving away a signed Frank Lampard shirt. All you have to do is join, and we're also going to be giving away 2 VIP Platinum tickets to Chelsea's first home game of the Premier League season next year. So make sure you join. Trevoh Chalobah is wanted by Inter Milan. The fee that is being reported is £25 million. When I look at this fee, 25 million for Trev, I think this is very undervalued. When you think about what Trev brings to a team, he can play right back, he can play defensive midfield, and he's a very competent centre half who, when we look at the quality of Trevoh Chalobah, on his day, he's a very, very good defender, playing against or alongside strong defenders who command the box. Trevor's a really good player for Chelsea to count upon. When you look at the amount of years left on his contract, 25 million quid, just to me seems like an undervalue. And considering it's still pure profit, Chelsea may be looking to consider communicating with Inter Milan about selling Trev. But 25 million, I think, is short of the margin. When you look at what players are worth these days, 25 million for Trev, I think he can do so much to the team. I think the fact also, he wants to be at Chelsea, he wants to fight for his place under Pochettino. If I was Chelsea, and I think the offer needs to be significantly more in order to consider the sale of Trevoh Chalobah. I think, once again, there is an affinity to these young players, to the players that are homegrown from Cobham. Yes, the fans, some don't, some think it's just a myth and we shouldn't care about it. I'm one of the fans who, when it comes to a player who's been brought up at Chelsea, come through the ranks, fighted for his position, you see exactly what it means to him when he scored that first goal against Crystal Palace. I want players who want to play for Chelsea at Chelsea. It's all well and good saying we've got to get rid of the dead wood, we've got to improve, we've got to sell, and then we've got to buy. But at this rate, when Chelsea are talking about selling probably or losing certain players who we didn't expect to, the whole let's sign 4 players, not have a big merry-go-round of ins and outs, because that doesn't help a team either. Chelsea, we've got to go and be careful to the point where we're not losing too many. And I think when it comes to centre-backs, we've obviously got Fofana, we've got Badiashile, we've got Levi Colwill coming back, Thiago Silva. Those 4 are top-quality centre-halves. But at the same time, as soon as 1 or 2 of them get injured and Thiago Silva's age comes into effect as well, you don't want to be left in a position where if Pochettino comes in, works with this squad, looks at this squad and sees that Chelsea work best in a back 3, which I wouldn't be too surprised about, to be honest. You don't want to be left with 4 centre-backs to pick from every single week, particularly when injuries have been aplenty in this squad for years. So with Trev, 25 million, the way I sit on this one, I think the fee needs to be higher. I think Chelsea should at least go for 30, maybe even 35 million for Trevoh Chalobah. Let me know your thoughts on this in the comments down below. I get that it is a pure profit sale. I know he's probably not at the same level that Colwill probably is, Badiashile, Fofana. I do think Trev is in the middle, potentially, of all of the centre-backs. But at the same time, I do think Fofana's better, Badiashile's better. And I think Colwill will develop to become a better centre-back than Trev. And he's not better than Thiago Silva. So based on that, he's the 5th best at the club. So Chelsea can get 30 mil for him, maybe. But at the same time, I think we've got to be careful. As much as we need to sell, we don't want to be left short in different areas across the field. The next story that we're going to talk about is Moises Caicedo. Fabrizio Romano has said that in the coming days, expect Chelsea to push hard for Caicedo. The more that we see developments, we talked about this in yesterday's news story, Kante likely to leave, not going to sign a new deal, Kovacic on his way to City, Mount on his way to Man United. With all of this, Chelsea need a minimum of 2 central midfielders. And I want to ask the question here. If Chelsea need 3 central midfielders, and as we lead into talk about potentially losing Kai Havertz to Real Madrid, which, before we talk about that, I'll say, if Real Madrid come in with a good offer, I think Chelsea should sell, and I think Havertz would want to go. So I think this actually could happen. So when you think about the balance of the midfield, we're talking about signing Ugarte, defensive midfielder, but we also might lose him to PSG. Caicedo is also a relatively defence-minded midfielder, but can also get forward, carry the ball quite well as well. But he's an all-action midfielder. If you lose Havertz, and you lose Mason Mount, and you've lost Kovacic and Kante, Chelsea's midfield, we talk about a lack of connecting between the midfield into the attack being one of the main reasons why Chelsea don't score many goals or have struggled to create big chances this season or convert any of them, for instance, with Havertz up front. This is where I start to wonder, is there going to be an imbalance in favour of too many defence-minded midfielders? We've got Enzo, yes, can play as a number 8, will be more advanced next season, which we'll see the best out of him. But again, there is a depth issue here. There is a lack of quality in depth in this Chelsea squad. You've got Carnes, you've got Connor, but with Connor, I still don't think Chelsea or even Gallagher really knows what his best role is. With Chukwuemeka, I do think he could become a fantastic player. He's got a brilliant turning circle for a player of his size, and I do think he could mould under Pochettino into a brilliant number 8 for Chelsea. But I just worry that maybe we'll need to sign a third midfielder. You've got Santos, Cassidy in there as well. When you look at it like this, you've got Santos, Cassidy, Enzo, Chukwuemeka. You sign Ugarte, Caicedo. That is 6 central midfielders. Maybe that's enough. Or maybe we would need to sign another. Maybe like a number 8, number 10 mould player if Mount and Havertz leave. Pochettino reportedly wants both Havertz and Mount to stay at the club, but we're led to believe more so Mason Mount than Kai Havertz. He'd be open to losing Kai if the right bid was to come in, and then try and find a replacement to compete with Christopher Nkunku for the number 10 role. Obviously, Joao Felix won't be staying. So let's talk now about Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz is a player who will forever go down in Chelsea folklore. And I feel as though, especially me, because I've heavily criticised him this season, I always need to caveat the fact that he scored that goal. And I think it's important to do so because when we look through Chelsea's history, Kai Havertz was bought in for big money, £72 million. He was bought in as a player who was one of the brightest, youngest talents in Germany. We saw him score goals at Bayer Leverkusen. We saw him making goals, creating stuff. When he's on the ball, sometimes Kai Havertz can be this player who glides past players. He's good in the air. But when it comes to being a number 9, we've seen this season that that is not, and at least in this Chelsea team, and probably most teams, Kai Havertz is not the clinical finisher that Real Madrid are reportedly looking to bring in as a potential replacement for Karim Benzema. I think this is mad business from Real Madrid if they're looking at him in that light. They've got so many great attacking players. So I just wonder is it a Chelsea problem? Is Kai Havertz actually good in the number 9 role, but Chelsea just can't feed him? I mean, I don't know about you, but I've seen countless times this season where there's been a really nice pass played in, there's been a really good cross played in, and Kai just can't find the target, let alone force the goalkeeper to make a save. So are Chelsea missing the point with Havertz? Or is Havertz just not that player? And I'll be honest, I'll give my opinion on this because it is crazy transfer season and it'd be boring if I was just like, well, this might happen, that might happen. I really don't think Kai Havertz is good enough. And that is from based on what I've seen throughout the entire time he's been a Chelsea player. And that is still with that little caveat in my mind that he scored that goal. I don't think Kai Havertz is good enough. I think in the Premier League, it's maybe too fast-paced, too physical for him. And I think as much as he is a big guy, he can get his body between players. Sometimes we see these nice little interchanges and interplays with other forward players. He needs to be positioned deeper. I think if Chelsea are to keep Kai Havertz, we'll only see the best of him, not as a backup striker, not as the man that we call upon if the new number 9 that we signs gets injured. Nkunku will always go as the number 9, in my eyes, before Kai Havertz does. If Chelsea sign a striker and he's out and he can't play every single game, Armando Broja also ahead of Kai Havertz in that department. I've seen him play for Germany, and I've seen how brilliant he can be. Technically, a gifted footballer. But I just wonder if the last couple of seasons at Chelsea where he didn't kick on from that Champions League final, he didn't kick on from that goal and that win, I just wonder if maybe now, not only does he potentially want to leave, if Real Madrid come knocking on the door, you can imagine, if they've got a plan for him, then I think Kai Havertz will want to go. But at Chelsea, Pochettino is a manager who is known to get the best out of players going forward when he plays in a narrow system. Kai Havertz out wide doesn't work. Kai Havertz in a narrow system with an Nkunku, with another striker, I feel as though that could be the final straw, the final chance to get the best out of him. And would Chelsea, in a similar way that we did in the past with the Salah, De Bruyne, I'm not saying that I think Havertz could ever reach those levels. I don't think he can. I think his ceiling as a footballer is not that high. But could it be one of those cases where all this time it's been a Chelsea problem, not a Havertz problem? All the managers that we've had, Tuchel, Lampard, Graham Potter, they just didn't know how to get the best out of quite a niche footballer. So is it one of those stories where Real Madrid come knocking, Chelsea would be like, oh yeah, we'll take him, please. If it's Real Madrid, you can offer 50 odd million, have him. And then we look at him at a club who well functions, plays in a certain system, has such a tight network when it comes to passing, such a tight bond between those players. Kai Havertz just drops in there, and all of a sudden we see that promise, we see that potential that we always knew was there at Chelsea, and Chelsea are like, another one bites the dust. I just fear that that could happen, but within this whole fear of players could be better elsewhere, I think we know a lot of these Chelsea players are good enough to play at top clubs. There's a reason City want Kovacic. Havertz is wanted by Real Madrid. Mount is wanted by Man United. These aren't bad footballers. But we have had such a bad year that all the players who potentially could leave for big clubs, you wouldn't be surprised if they went. You wouldn't be surprised if they wanted to go. And at the same time, it's been a systemic issue at Chelsea all season long as to why everyone's been so bad. So big clear-outs needed, big clear-outs happening. It is crazy season, chaos time in the transfer market. If you did enjoy this video, please hit the like button, subscribe if you are new. As I said, all you got to do to be in with a chance to win the signed Lampard shirt and the 2 VIP Platinum tickets for first home game is be in the Telegram chat. All the stuff that goes on in there. You don't have to do anything if you don't want to. So yeah, just go and follow, go and join. You'll be in with a chance. I'm announcing the winner this month. Come on, you Blues.